All right, it is now 4 o'clock. How is everyone doing?
Great.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate all of you who have made it through a long but fun Saturday, contributing to Tech for Good. So we will dive into the final presentations. It's like we have, I might send a quick Slack message to the Banana app team that look like they are still working away. And if we go alphabetically, why don't we go reverse alphabetically this time? And that way it will not put them at the front of the list. And any, I guess before we dive into that and to give them just a minute, anybody have any burning suggestions of from the event today that they want to share with the group, or any thoughts or feedback or questions or concerns?
No, I applaud you for coordinating all this with this many people online, virtually.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely different than when we were doing this in person, and it has challenges and also opportunities. So it's definitely nice. It's fun to see that we had projects from DC and North Carolina and Denver and California, and Amy, you're in Ohio. And we had people from all over participating. So it's nice to break the constraints of geography, but it is also nice when we're all kind of rubbing shoulders and eating together. But at least for the time being, we have to put that life on hold. So why don't we jump in, and we can go in reverse order. And I think that means that ShelterApp will be the first project to present. Raj, are you and the team ready?
Yeah, we're good. First I would be just giving some opening comments, and then what is that? Ethan would be presenting it. Okay.
Yeah, and any of you are welcome to share your screen at any point that you want to.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let me start it. First of all, I would like to thank all the volunteers who helped us today. Thanks, Pete, Ethan, Molly, Srikanth for doing a great job. So what we try to do today is to scrape data from IRS open dataset using specific NTE codes that are relevant to our resource database. Molly and Pete helped with filtering out the CSV dataset. With Molly's initial filter data, we found that we need to exclude some states that have mailing only address and truncate part of zip codes. Molly also created a document with all useful fields in each data set. Pete helped with finding the NTE codes that might have some subcategories. So we try to use a wildcard to filter out those NTE codes to get relevant data. Ethan and Srikanth helped with connecting to MongoDB, scraping the data from IRS CSV files, and exporting it to the test MongoDB database. They also worked on doing a fuzzy search on the mains, not a fuzzy search on the main services table to see if the resources exist and filter out so that it would remove the duplicates in the data. So Ethan would be sharing some of that coding which they did today.
Okay,
Ethan, please
now.
go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to share screen. Okay, so yeah, Raj talked about what the project is. We brought in different, we started with different CSV files in Google Docs. We downloaded some of those to look at what kind of data we would be filtering through. So we have the this is a file that, let me get to the, into the master branch is, there is a filter.py. We talked about, we want to, in the read CSV, we take in a code that we want to filter on. We just have a static file right now, but that can be changed also. So we filter this file, we return the filtered data, and then we can connect to MongoDB. We have our services collection because we're using NoSQL MongoDB. And we also have a temporary collection, which is where we want to store data that we don't want to actually have front-facing. Because really we want to be accessing the services until maybe we want to update. But yeah, this is we filter the data, we add the MongoDB, and Shrikant also has another folder which was uploaded, and that's in the IRS folder, a similar filter and similar upload to MongoDB.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ethan. Thanks everyone for helping out today.
Excellent.
Okay.
So I think as I counted the number of projects, I think we can stretch our time just slightly, where we have, first warning at 3 minutes, second warning at 3.5, and really rude, stop talking right now at 4 minutes. So, and then we'll still be able to wrap up before 5, I think. So next up is Recycle Tutor. Heather, are you and the team here?
Yeah, I'm here.
There you are. Okay, great. Are you ready?
Yes. Let me switch over. Start at the beginning. Oh no, you guys see all my slides. Here's slide 1. Okay, here we go. Recycle Tutor. Let's see, these are the problems we're addressing. We want to make things a little bit more aware in the recycling area because every city has different rules, even within a city. And then this is supposed to intuitively teach people by having them virtually recycle with augmented reality. This is my team. This is who has been working on this. I'm project lead. Sue was helping us with her expertise in chemical engineering and recycling. And then also she was putting together a database. Kailana helped with the marketing research questionnaire, which we're doing. Our market is the people that are just happen to walk by, pedestrians, and also the grants that we are applying for. Also, she did some great user testing, which almost made it into the presentation, but not quite. Sarah Fisher helped earlier with the data resources, and Joe wrote the code. This is our first conceptual animation to show what we were going for, picking up the virtual trash, putting it in the virtual bin. These are our considerations. We wanted it to be very accessible. We wanted it to be very clear and not have to explain it. And we don't want to require people to read because then they'll have to be literate in English. Obstacles, the biggest one was our open source library wasn't very reliable. We kind of just had to grab what was out there. It'd be nice to go in and refine it ourselves, but we didn't quite have time for that. And then also, one thing we didn't expect is that low light really got us in the butt there at the very end when we were realizing we needed better lighting in the room to recognize the fists. Here's our image assets really quick. This is the old video that we had from before. I'll kind of skip ahead because it's kind of a little longer than it needs to be. So we managed to do it with face tracking, first of all, because faces are way easier to recognize with computers. And today we were able to get fist tracking to some degree. Here's a little demo of me picking it up, and kind of pops all around. But it makes it in the bin. One more there. Okay, there we go, in the bin. So we'd like to add these features in the future, make it more accurate, obviously. We want to have it actual sorting, actually teaching people through having multiple bins and multiple types of waste. But we'd like to know what people's local guidelines are by putting in their zip code. We need a database of different waste types. We want to be able to track a full body so we can see the arm and the hand. And then we need really good quality assurance testing. These are the things that we still need help with if anybody is available to help. Our listings are on our project page. So yep, that's it. Thank you.
Wonderful. Great. Well, thank you, Heather. Could almost imagine the NBA season playing out that way, but I guess they have the video games as an alternative. Great. Next up is Pi for Providers. Kate and Chelsea and team, are you ready?
Yeah, I think Kate's going to kick us off.
Yep. So I'm going to share my screen really quick. What we were able to get accomplished today was a ton. First, I want to thank all of our volunteers. On my side, it was John, Sasha, Nora, Andrew, Josh, Angela, and Ashley. So we had a ton of volunteers. Can everybody see my screen that shows Pi for Providers?
Yes.
Yep.
Great, perfect. Okay, so part of what we did today was pair on converting our sign-up page from hand-rolled React components to the Ant design library. And so the sign-up page is nearly finished. We just have a couple more tweaks to do before that's done. We also got a pull request open for what happens after you sign up, which is the landing page that says we've sent you an email to verify your account. And gives you a couple of things to think about before you try to either sign up again or want to try and get the email resent. So this screen has a pull request open. And then the next one I'm going to let Andrew talk about because this was his pull request.
There you go. And this is what a user is going to find after they've completed their verification. So they're onboarded and now they're able to get started, effectively completing the sign-up workflow and starting the onboarding process. This is the start of where they will find success with the Pi program.
Yep. And that's what we got done in development, and the user story is going to continue through to what design got accomplished today. So I'm going to hand it to Rebecca.
Thanks, Kate. I'll just share my screen really quickly. And I just want to also shout out our two awesome design volunteers, Robin and Brian. Thanks so much for all your time and your hard work today. So yeah, just like Andrew was just saying, after the user has logged in and they get started and they are on board themselves, the thing that we focused on in the design side is the financial accounting and uploading that users need to do. And this is really the key value add because this is what helps childcare providers get that money that so often due to various reasons and various administrative burdens is like unfortunately something that they don't claim. So the first thing that we worked on from the design side is the adding a payment flow where users are able to upload information about payments that they receive from the government. And then the key thing here is that once users do that, the next thing that we worked on is what we call the ledger. So once our users record their payments, our rules engine is what's able to tell them how much money they got and how much money they missed. And this is kind of like the key thing, one of the key value adds that we have as Pi for Providers. It's letting users know that, you know, this is what you're owed, you know, you need to contact people and make sure that you basically get that money. And we also did responsive design for this and it all looks really great. So thanks again to everyone. We are looking for developers, designers, both visual and interaction. So if you're interested, all of this information and more is on our project page too. So feel free to reach out. Thanks, everybody.
Great, that's awesome. Looks like you all got a ton of work done today, so congratulations. Next up is Orcasound. Brendan and team, are you ready?
Well, wait, is Brendan here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Can you all see my screen okay?
Yes.
Great. All right, so today we worked on the Orcasound learning interface. I led the team. We first began by discussing what was possible today. So Sam, Bipin, James, Carl, Diego, and Kunal and myself all contributed to that conversation. We decided that this was a very design-heavy day, and so there wasn't a ton of actual dev work done, but we're hoping to implement what was designed today in later hackathons. Why is this doing that? Okay, perfect. So we began by looking at Diego's work with machine learning. What he did was set up an interface where you would play a sound sample and then you would tag that, and that would teach the machines, you know, what these different sounds meant, whether it was J-Pod or a non-Orcasound, etc. So we wanted to kind of take that idea and make it into a human-facing teaching interface. So we started to design some mock-ups in Figma. This is a mock-up that I put together. This is the learning library. There are around 40 or so, little more than that, calls that people need to learn in order to identify different types of those southern resident killer whale calls. So as you can see, I did kind of a scroll up and down carousel feature where you can choose a different call and then listen to it. And then you listen to it here, and here are the different ways you can navigate around playing the call, pausing the call, going to the next call or the previous call, or going back to the library to go and choose a different call that way. So few different options there. And then Sam and I worked on mocking up an actual teaching interface. And so here is one idea that we had. So you would listen to that call. You don't know what call it is. You choose which one it is. And if you are correct, you get a nice little animated whale jumping. And, you know, kind of you got it message, or you win, or you know, congratulations, you picked the right one. So we worked on those, and then I sent those designs over to James, and he started coding. Didn't get anything done, but he certainly got the ball rolling.
I got one very small thing. I got one very small thing done. Basically, if you go to /teaching UI, it will fetch a page.
Cool.
So
sweet. Awesome. So we got a little bit done. So again, a design heavy day, but a great day for at least getting the ball rolling on the teaching interface for teaching humans to recognize different Orca calls.
Excellent. Thank you, Team Orcasound. Great work. You all are one of our most consistent teams, and it's amazing to see how much progress has happened over the last couple of years of coming to these events every couple of months. Next up is the Nonprofit Exchange Hub. Joel, are you and the team ready?
Yes. Had to unmute myself. Great. So this is the first day a team has ever been formed to work on this project. So it was very exciting for me to see certain people step up and offer their talent. And I'm going to share my screen. Give me one sec. Okay. So the Nonprofit Exchange Hub is, the idea is to create a online hub, whether it's a mobile app, a web app, or both, for the exchange of goods, information, and connections for nonprofits. We determined through a couple events this was a service that was needed in the nonprofit community. And instead of trying to dive deep and solve the problem, Julie, Thomas, Ella, John, me, and Anthony got together of diverse backgrounds and diverse skill sets. And we determined we really needed to have good user stories and good data from nonprofits specifically. So we ended up spending the majority of our time actually creating that survey. And I'll give a glimpse of it later. And that covered a whole wide swath of information. We also realized there's a lot of other blanket or umbrella nonprofit organizations or convening organizations that would want this data. So we're taking it very seriously. The survey is, I think, excellent. And the other things we did this week today was determine standardized tools for managing our project and also when to meet weekly. What we'll be working on the next month or so is refining and determining where to deliver the survey and which tool we want to use for creating that survey, whether it's SurveyMonkey, Google Forms, or what have you, and determine which nonprofits we want to start targeting for this survey. And we don't want to just target any old shotgun blast of nonprofits. We're hoping to get in the door of important nonprofits that are attending a certain aspect of the nonprofit sector, whether it's health and human services, animals, religion, whatever, in all the categories of nonprofits, who's going to be best to contact. So that's going to take a bit of work. And then once we get the results from all that data, we will start creating the user stories, and what will bubble out of that are features and therefore technology decisions. Let me show real quick this survey that we did create because it's so exciting. Thank you. And demographics, service sector, community, looking at how they interact with the community, what services, how their services have been affected, what operations have been affected, communications, safety and security, a few other things. Really looking at how COVID, Black Lives Matter in 2020 has affected them. So thank you, and thank you, my team. They were great today. You guys were great.
Excellent. Thank you, Joel. And I will note this is actually Joel's prayer bowl that has become a fixture of our events. So notify his own bowl to notify him that time is up. All right. So next up is NC COVID support. Kate, are you ready?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, guys. I'm going to turn on my video to say a quick hello, and also cheers to anyone else who is hackathoning with family in the background, like you, Mark. This is why my video is usually off, the audio off, but hello, everyone. And I want to say before we begin a special thanks to Marissa, who is our volunteer extraordinaire today and helped us work through some really tough issues on messaging. So I'm going to turn off my video a second, but hello to you all and thanks. So to start with messaging, like this NC COVID support, our goals are in some ways very similar to the little help book goals, right? It's hard to find the help that you need. And so the tool that we're creating, you can think of it as statewide resources like 211, plus a layer for local community organizations to add their localized knowledge, and not only translations, but really cultural support. So I'm just going to give you a quick view of what our backend database looks like for anyone interested, and then we'll jump into that messaging as well. So this is just to say that little white book, we'd love to talk with you. We have this custom database built in Umbraco, where when you click on a resource, you can easily see split views for supporting translations, and making it easy for different volunteers to upload the English information and then others to come in and translate. Okay, but let's see now to today's work. So hopefully, Mark, you can just give me a thumbs up if you can see the PowerPoint screen. Okay, thank you. So this is what Marissa really helped us with. We have a problem, which is a messaging problem, especially as the goal of our project has changed. So Marissa was fantastic in helping me work through some of those messaging issues, including brainstorming an improved name and slogan for our project. We talked through some of the pros and cons of having a statewide name along with NC somewhere in the title, and having regional chapters, or having a much more regionally branded product. So we made some fantastic progress there. And I'll let Marissa talk about some of the messaging work that she helped us with.
Great. So with messaging, you really need your organization to kind of have succinct messages that they can convey what they do, who you are, how you help within the community, how you're kind of different than the other organizations out there. So for the messaging we worked on, we really kind of boiled it down to, okay, this is what they are, who they support, and their community resource. And so building off of that, who uses them. So we built kind of a top 3 key messages, and those 3 messages, if you're kind of thinking about your messaging and branding, they should be quick. They should kind of tie into what you do, who you are, and they should be almost like quick little sound bites. So that's what we really worked on. What are quick little sound bites that give reporters or investors, anyone, information, and that can be tied back in those conversations. So then we also thought about frequently asked questions, and that's just kind of a great page that will allow users in the community to kind of go back and see and have their questions answered. And aside from that, it also gives reporters a great opportunity, if they were to want to write an article about you, to kind of look at everything that you've outlined. So they're not necessarily having to ping you constantly for questions. They can answer that themselves. And then they can get an idea of who you are and what you're doing, and then set up those interviews to talk to you so you can really get your story across. So I think that's just kind of quick little things to keep in mind.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Thanks, Marissa, for your contributions, and Kate, thank you for coming in from all the way across the country. Great. So next up is Mayo. Alan, are you ready?
Hello. So I'll be presenting for Mayo.
Okay. Sounds great.
And first of all, I would like to shout out to all of the team that was involved today. And to just make it quick, I'll just go straight to the demo. So let me share my screen first. Okay, can you see my screen or my iPhone screen? Okay, so first of all, our Mayo app is actually already on the app, both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. But recently we decided to migrate to React Native. So this is basically a rebuild. First of all, let me show you what the app looks like on the, so this is our working version, which is already live on the App Store. As you can see, we have my location here, and then you have your cards on the bottom. And what our functionality is we can post anything that we want. For example, hey, yeah, can someone lend me their MacBook charger, for example? Charger, and then post. And as you can see, it's posted. And then I cannot show you right now, but another user should see that post and will be able and has the ability to respond via chat. As you can see here, there's a reply button. Another user should be able to chat. And what we have so far is a simple card view. So this is we have the points button. As you can see on the top right, we have the This shows you the points that we have because our app has a point system whenever you help someone. We already implemented that, but it's in another branch in our repo. And as you may know, like merging a bunch of branches could take its own hackathon. So we decided to like just demo this core feature for now. And also from this hackathon, we also found another person that wanted to join our team. Her name is his name is Sneha, and she helped provide us with a lot of feedback for ideas on how to like spread the word for Mayo. And yeah, I would like to thank like the volunteers for this hackathon and that made this happen. And I will give it to Ellen for any more closing statements.
Yeah, just thank you everyone that's kind of chimed in and out throughout the day. You know, thanks DemocracyLab for putting this together. It helps us put our heads down, get some feedback from people as well. And we are actively looking for people who live in apartment buildings or condos to interview and help us learn more about Mayo in your community. So if you're interested and can be available, please shoot me a message or send us an email too. I'll send that out in the Slack after this too. Thank you guys.
Great. Thank you, Team Mayo. Next up is the Little Help Book. Arthur or Mark, are you ready?
Yeah, thank you. I'll be talking about the project, and a really significant thanks to you for creating the hackathon. That was a kind of stretch goal for our Open Eugene team to get this ready. And as a result, we've doubled the size of our team. So part of the day was getting to know each other. And you know, thanks to Mark Davis with Open Eugene, we have a process where we can continue working together. And what we're able to do today is to share with everyone where the project is. We're creating a single source of truth for Lane County's human and social service resources. And so part of that is a communications effort in which Whitebird and their staff and surrounding social service agencies will be communicating with other providers. And then we'll have we started drafting a letter to introduce this project, create awareness of it, and welcome contributors to the database. And the database is on Airtable, and we had a data team that was connecting mapping the data structure. It's a table of contents style database where we have categories, and then under that, subcategories. So you know, one of the things that we were working on for ease of navigation to create very descriptive and clear categories. And then our front end team, you know, a small, just myself and Ichin and Brandon were working on the version control and working together for the first time, figuring out how to hold the repository and avoid any merge conflicts. So that was actually a win for our team. A real win for the database team was connecting with a subject matter expert in Lane County. Alicia Jones works with the Child Center there, and she is already doing this work of maintaining a database of social service providers. So she has really been helpful in understanding what the needs are of and how this online resource can be an asset to the entire Lane County. Another member of our team, Michelle, was on the other side of Lane County. Lane County stretches from the valley all the way to the coast, and it's the size of some East Coast states. And I'll just say thank you, and I look forward to seeing you all again when we We'll meet in our Open Eugene co-working. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Arthur. We're excited to have Open Eugene and the Little Help Book project here. So glad you could join us. Next up is the Inclusive Intake Project. Richard, are you ready?
Yeah, absolutely. So we had a one work stream going with Michelle joining us from New York on creating some wireframes that I can use for some customer research coming up with the product, with service providers in the area. And then Michael Patrick silently in another room on a completely different work stream that I didn't know was going on, did a ton of research for me on places where I may not have to reinvent the wheel from front ends to back ends, and kind of came in at the end and shared a bunch of research with us. So I just want to giant shout out to both of them for their help today. I'll do a quick share screen, just show the extent of the wire framework that we were able to get through today. So just kind of started off with a work stream around the organization setting themselves up in the system. And so I'm just going to scroll down the left, but organization information here, and then to different options about how you might be able to select services, either drag and drop or something to that effect, or a checkbox here. How to then delineate how you're tracking information, figuring out which data fields are going to be collected for each service that you provide. And so just basically, how do you create a form for your own organization so that by the end, you can be writing in your own questions for the different data fields that you want to portray, all the way to having a form ready to go for data entry. And then we even got to the next kind of workflow of once you're in the system, from client lookup and what that might look like through to figuring out which services, which family members may be interested in that day as you go through data entry, and then being able to provide the form to actually start entering data for the services required. So, I mean, you can just scroll through and see kind of the amount of work we were able to get done today is pretty impressive. So, massive thank you to Michelle for her help there. And then again, for Michael to unasked and silently put a bunch of research in for me. So appreciate you both.
Great. It's amazing all of those wireframes fit in one balsamic instance.
Yeah, it hasn't crashed on me yet, that's for sure.
Great. Next up is Every Voice Engaged. Amy and/or Gary, are you ready?
Sure. Yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen here. So what we were hoping to do today was actually, before we could actually get to some of our work to actually make some changes in the front end and some of the design of our lobby for our moderator flow, what we're really hoping to do was get familiar with a lot of the code. Our team is really small. It's basically Gary and I, and it's coming from a bunch of proprietary software, which most of our work thus far has been getting ready to get that to go open source. But we want to take the opportunity today to kind of notch up a small win and to get really familiar with it ourselves in a way that we haven't had a chance to do yet so far. So thanks so much to Brad for helping us out and really helping us tinker with this. Neither of us had a huge background in CSS, and it was super, super helpful. So what we did was we'd have this currently the way the platform works is when you are a moderator and you are starting in a forum, this is how the screen looks for participants. And this is actually also how it looks for moderators. And you can see that there is there's a little bit of a problem with some of the alignment of the top bar. And there was a really small really small play button there. This is actually the play button that starts the forum. So if a moderator has any trouble finding that, it's not good for the group experience. So what we were able to do here was we were able to dig into the CSS of the front page and actually get to make those buttons larger, and also to color code them and make sure that they retained their hover functionality. And what we also wanted to do was to change the width of the chat bar. The chat bar is really where a lot of the action is happening in this, and we were hoping to get to widening the chat bar to 50%, the other main user parts of the screen to 50%, and adding a toolbar over on the right. That's going to take a little bit more work and a little bit more research into what Angular can do with launching those buttons that we still have to do, but we were able to widen our chat bar a little bit here, and we figured out exactly what we need to do when we have the other work done. So it was a really good chance to do a lot of discovery for that for us, and we think that it's going to make us much more efficient as we're going forward. So basically what we did was investigated the CSS for the lobby, increased those sizes, investigated the widths of the div, and made some changes to them. So far this is kind of like a half step that will take us to where we can finish up the rest much more simply. We have really granular instructions for how we'll be able to do that afterwards. And once we're more familiar with this half step, we have a bunch of other longer term, bigger wins that we're going to be working on shortly, which the biggest one is going to be going open source. So that's going to be a really huge amount. Gary's been working on that, and we're hopeful that that could be another big task for us to work on soon. And then after that, something else we're really excited about is getting away from this design, which came from the original source of the proprietary platform, where it was designed for laptops or tablets first. So we're going to be doing a mobile first redesign, and that will be primarily for the participant environment first. But in the future, we also want to get to new moderator and participant flows for everything from scheduling a forum as a moderator, and then for participants being able to convene your own group and recruit a moderator to come help you have a forum on a tough issue. And so if you would like to join us, please do so on our project page. The link is right there at the bottom, and I will post it in the chat momentarily. Gary, anything to add?
No, that was a great summary, Amy. Thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you for that. We're glad to have you here. I first saw Every Voice Engaged, or Common Ground for Action is the other name I was familiar with, I think way back in 2011, back at the Kettering Foundation. So it's great to see it coming open source, and glad to have you here and part of the community.
Yeah, we were super glad. It was a great first experience. Thank you, Mark, for doing this.
Cool. Wonderful. Great. Well, next up is DemocracyLab. I am actually just going to do a super quick share to update on a new feature that we have been working on, and that is our groups feature. And so this just launched this past week, and so now it's possible for any Tech for Good organization to create a group. This is a hidden link right now, but we can send this to anybody who wants to create a group. It's very much like creating a project. And then once you have your group, this is the Open Seattle, the Code for America Brigade here in Seattle. And once you have created your group, you can have a profile page for your group that doesn't look all that different from the projects, but the big difference is that all of the projects associated with that group can be listed. And so it's a way to, what we've seen is lots of different Tech for Good organizations around the country and around the world have the same challenge that we've observed of it being difficult to find volunteers and difficult to onboard them efficiently to projects. And so this creates a much easier way to keep your project listing up to date fresh, relevant with what's happening, and gives volunteers a chance to learn a lot about the project before they ever start the clock ticking on the project leader's time by reaching out to them to ask questions. And so we found that transparency that this allows and encourages makes it much more efficient to onboard volunteers, and that in turn helps the projects be more productive. So if you are part of a group and you think it'd be great for your group to be able to list projects, shoot me a link and I will, or shoot me a message and I will send you the link to this Create Groups page so that you can do that yourself. So that is what I will report out about DemocracyLab's work. And I will now turn it over to Civiq. Jeff, are you ready?
Yeah, I am. First, I'd like to really thank our team, Gordon, Leilani, and Peter, for jumping in and their work and support on this project, particularly to Gordon. Gordon was joining us from Croatia, and he worked up until 1 o'clock his time, 1 a.m. his time, before he turned in. So thank you very much. Civiq is a pretty complex application, and really this is the first time that we've ever opened it up to outside developers. You can ask Mark. I literally submitted this at the 11th hour as I was frantically trying to get slides and project scopes done 15 minutes before the project. So thank you for the opportunity. And also because of that, I didn't know that I needed to have a full presentation prepped. So I will spare you the slides this time, but I promise next time I will make them super duper special. So while we didn't exactly hit our milestones, our team really had traction. We made some progress in some other areas and learned some excellent lessons, particularly in this complex of a code base and having some outside supporters. I am happy to report that the development of this particular module is already scheduled to continue on Monday, and I really suspect that we'll be done with this probably within 7 to 10 days, and we'll be able to move it into a testing environment and then quickly into the final product, so that we can really begin to deploy this this application to local community newsrooms really around the world, so that they can run their own social media platforms. I would like to invite everyone to create a free account on Civiq at civiq.social. I've dropped a link into the chat, and make sure that you share with me how you think that we can improve the platform, you know, particularly as it relates to groups and some of the other social media functions. And then we are looking for some additional help, so I will put the plea out again, specifically for this project. If you're a front-end, back-end, UI, UX developer, or a designer with experience in the stack that we're using, which is Ruby, React, Redux, Node.js, and some YAML, that would be really helpful. Please hit up our project over on the DemocracyLab website. And thank you. I have been meaning to connect with the DemocracyLab event for what, about 12, 18 months, it seems like. And I think that this was the first one. And organizationally, I'd like to find a way that we can work together more. Thank you, guys. It was a wonderful experience.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Jeff. Appreciate you being here. Jeff is out in DC, so I didn't realize we had a participant in Croatia. That may be the record for the biggest time zone difference that we've had so far. Next up is the Banana app. Apollo, are you ready?
Yes, thank you. Let me share. All right. We have said it. We have said this over and over again, and we've said it so many times, but they are just as genuine as the first one. Thank you so much, DemocracyLab, and to our app teammates, those who were able to log in today and those who are working from home. This was a very productive day for us, as we were able to accomplish a fair amount of tasks that we set out for today. For the recap, I'll turn it over to my teammate, Vivian.
Hi everyone, my name is Vivian. I help out with marketing for Banana App. And today on the marketing and UI side, we wanted to, one, test out the client side, so kind of the user side of the first version of our app, see how easy it was to claim items and any other questions people had. And then also just better understand how people were feeling about COVID and how that might actually affect how people might be picking up items. So we have a couple actionable items here around optimizing our UI a little better and really highlighting the items that need to be claimed so people can sort that out versus the ones that are still available. And in general, we are very thankful for the positive feedback that we got around the positive impact we can have, especially now that everyone is a little bit more wary of their finances during COVID. So now I'll turn it over to Joseph for the dev recap.
Yeah, so we did a couple things. We got a navbar coded up. So basically the idea was to create just the UI of the navbar. It's not wired up yet, but we were able to get the components created with the correct icon and for the Banana app, and we were able to get our SVG files connected for the bell and the hamburger and all that kind of stuff. So the next step on that one is to get this component incorporated into the app and get it wired up with the different things that it's navigated to. Can you go to the next slide, Vivian? Not sure how to get. There we go. Okay, yeah. So the thing we also did was we got a HTML template for our mailers. So when people request a new password, or you know, when they first get signed up to the app, you know, the app will send out emails, you know, saying, you know, welcome to the Banana app or whatever. So we wanted to create a mailer that could accept you know, different unique variables that will fill in, you know, the correct information. So, you know, when this actually gets sent out, you know, the user's first name will be entered, and then, you know, the correct information will be passed in, as well as, you know, whether it's a new password that they got or a token to create a new password, whatever is going on there, it will be passed into the mailer and then sent out. So we got that done, which is pretty great. And then we also made some progress on our donor card, which is basically just it's a card that's used in the donor side of the application that lets them see, you know, how many donors they have and that kind of stuff. So yeah, so we made some progress. It was pretty good. We have a couple really great new members that really helped out a lot. And yeah, thanks everybody for helping out today.
All right, and a big shout our volunteers here. We have a developer.
We're at 4 minutes, so we've got to wrap it up. Thank you, Team Banana app. For those of you who have not been to our in-person hackathons, you have not had the treat of seeing Banana app team members dressed in a full-body banana suit, which is the highlight of any hackathon. So we can maybe that can come out of somebody's closet at some point. Is there anyone who wants to present work on a project that has not yet been able to? We have a video to share from AB Street, but I will make sure I didn't accidentally miss anyone before we play that. All right, it sounds like we are ready to play AB Street's video. So I will share my screen and push play. That does not seem like that's their video. I am not quite sure what happened there. Let me hit the back button and see if this is what.
Dustin with AB Street.
Today
I worked with Michael and Javed on trip commute visualization. So this is what the tool looked like before. You could hover over a group of buildings and see where people in those buildings were going, and using arrows, and this was kind of overwhelming. And so there's another variation that would instead color the groups of buildings by color. And as you can see, like there are a lot of groups, or there are many like groups of buildings, and this UI is pretty simple and a little bit hard to use. So the end result is now like this. So I guess the changes include a little bit better coloring for the heat map. There's the ability to filter departure time. So you could only see, or so you can see if trips are only going, or like trips are leaving in at a certain time. And the grouping for buildings is now a little bit bigger, so it'll match all buildings within like residential roads adjacent to each other, and it'll kind of like stop at bigger arterial roads. Yeah, so that's what it looks like so far. Michael sent a few pull requests, and it had some of the best, like, I guess, pull request description, kind of like showing the state before and after. So first, you got rid of the old experiment for arrows, which kind of made no sense. And then he added in building statistics. So if you hover over a group, it'll say, there are 31 buildings in this, or 31 residential buildings in this group, or the number of commercial. And he also found some UX issues, like if you've got a bunch of building types in one space, kind of the margins run everywhere, and this box grows a little bit. It's going to take a bit more UI work to figure out what to do there. And then Javed is working on an implementation of the concave hole algorithm. So this is a way to stretch a boundary around a bunch of polygons. You might be familiar with convex hole. That's what we're using right now, but there are a lot of issues where the shape, the convex hole around a lot of buildings is too big, and a concave hole would look a lot better. And so he's going to work on that, or he's working on that, and is going to submit it to the GeoRust libraries that other projects can use this. Yeah, sorry we couldn't make it for the live presentation, but yeah, thanks for watching.
Great. So those of you who were here last time remember that we Dustin recorded a longer video, so we had to play it at 1.5 speed, which was like a giant caffeine Slurpee for all of us to see that. But for those of you who don't know what AB Street does, you can change traffic patterns, adding lanes, closing lanes, adding stop signs, stoplights, that kind of thing, to check out the effect on traffic in Seattle. So a very fun and interesting project. I am going to just briefly share again here to just make sure everybody knows about our next event, which will be the National Day of Civic Hacking on September 12th. And so Code for America organizes a National Day of Civic Hacking every year, and there will be events all over the country on September 12th for the National Day of Civic Hacking. We will help organize with Open Seattle the Seattle National Day of Civic Hacking, expecting that it will be online again. And so if you are not in Seattle, you might look for the event near you. If you are in Seattle, please join us on September 12th. And if you are not in Seattle and do not have an event near you, then feel free to join us on September 12th as well. And so that wraps up all of our presentations for the day. What we have always done at the end of these events is just open the floor for feedback, concerns, questions. I'll say that this was technically the most challenging virtual hackathon that we have had. Our first two went pretty smoothly. On this one, we had some synchronization issues between the DemocracyLab platform and KikoChat, which is the platform that we use that lets us jump between the different meeting rooms. And so some of you may have experienced brief periods this morning where you didn't have that interface available to you. I think for the most part, we managed to work through that okay. But we don't like technical glitches, especially during live events. And so, we apologize if anybody on your team had a tough time, getting into the room as easily as they expected. But does anyone have any lessons learned they'd like to share? Any ideas for improvement? Any just kind of good of the order comments?
I think that one of the things that we saw was we really hated to work in Zoom. And so our team left and we went to our own Slack channel. So perhaps having a way that we can dump into channels of choice for communications would be really helpful. I know that it worked for our team.
Great, thank you.
I think for me, I actually have tons of Zoom experience, but the whole the fact that there were so many rooms, the whole navigating within the kind of website, from going from one room to the red room and back to general, back to that, it would have been nice just to have a 2-minute training on that for everyone on Zoom in the beginning, this is how you're going to go between the pages and this is how you'll navigate. Because I was just wait, what page? Who's on first? Where do I go? So, but once I got it. So yeah. And then I think you have one thing.
Oh yeah. I would also just like to say a big thank you to the Pi team, and I think something that they did a great job of, that I hope every team did a great job of, was onboarding. They made the process for getting set up technically very easy. So if you are one of these organizations and you're wondering how to attract new volunteers, definitely take a look at how easy it is to get started. It's a great way to reduce that initial friction and get someone to be successful.
Yeah, I had some technical difficulties and I had to kind of track down Mark. So I was wondering if there was a way you could communicate who to contact when something is going wrong, so that I don't have to Zoom bomb your meeting to get your attention, kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I'm realizing I could have done a better job of walking through the document in the general session page, because it does have a session for tech help, but I didn't point that out to anybody, so it would have been, somebody would have had to have read most of the document to have gotten to that part. So realize that, and I think something else that we have done in the past and we didn't do this time that was a mistake was having a sort of open rehearsal, during the week, so that anybody who wanted to can all come in, try out the space at once, so that it's kind of a low pressure environment to figure some of these things out. So we'll do that differently next time. any other thoughts before we all go enjoy our Saturday evening? All right, well,
I just
hearing
wanted to
none-
say, I just wanted to say thanks so much for making this happen. We've been on this weird kind of like almost year-long, it feels like a year-long journey to kind of from Open Eugene to like making more connections in the Pacific Northwest and kind of getting these teams in a place where they could go participate in hacks like this. And it's actually nice to see the engine working. Like we're making connections, we're doing all the things that we've kind of been talking about doing. So I just wanted to give a special double shout out to Mark for all of his help onboarding us through this process. It's been really great, and it's nice to be seeing everybody in a much bigger context than the dozen or so folks that I would, think of as a really good turnout for one of our events. So it's great to be part of the bigger thing, and I just wanted to kind of gush on that a little bit.
Well, thank you, Mark.
Great, yeah, I think turned out a lot better than I thought it would for being a virtual hackathon.
Cool.
Thank you, guys.
Great. Well, I cannot take very much credit. I can neither write a single line of code nor draw design anything. So it's really all of DemocracyLab's volunteers that have designed and built everything that we have used. So I'd be remiss not to thank everyone who has really been a part of making that happen over the past couple of years. So mark your calendars for September 12th. You'll hopefully get reminders about that on email and social media. The page is live on Eventbrite now, so you can go ahead and RSVP now if you know that you want to participate. Thank you very much for what you do. I think it's really just affirming and empowering to see so many people doing what they can. We're all choosing to be proactive, to believe that we can make a difference, that these problems that we face are not too big to be solved, and that's how we're going to solve it. So, thank you, everybody.
Mark, volunteer hour reporting.
Yes, volunteer hour reporting. Yes. So and Michael, maybe you can elaborate on exactly what you mean, but I would say especially if you work for a company that does volunteer matching contributions, which there are many companies that do, please make sure to report the hours you spent today so that the nonprofit whose project you worked on, or DemocracyLab itself, if the project you worked on is not a 501c3 nonprofit, can receive financial credit for the time that you contributed. It's a really nice benefit that some, not all, big companies offer. Is that what you wanted me to say, Michael?
Yep. You have to, it's great promo to show, potential partners and donors and stuff, how much democracy brings together all in one place in hard numbers. Not many hack orgs do that, could deliver that.
Yeah. Thank you for the reminder. I was remiss in not addressing that, so thank you. All right, well, thank you, everybody. We will see you online again soon.
Thanks, Mark.
Bye.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.